Hello, sports fans. All right, so welcome to Sports News, episode 14. Um, so today is going to be all about football. Everything's about football. We're going to start with the NFL. Will Fuller is suspended for performance-enhancing drugs. Um, this is the last season on his contract, so he will also miss the first game of next year. And after this season, he's a free agent. So he was really having a breakout year this year. But now with the suspension, the Texans might or might not re-sign him. I mean, they just waived Kenny Stills. They just placed Randall Cobb on the injury reserve. So now their number one option at receiver is Brandon Cooks, and he's still a good receiver. Um, but I just think it's gonna slow down the production of Deshaun Watson. But um, Cooks would definitely do better as the number one option. The Ravens versus Steelers has been moved to tomorrow. I'm recording this on Tuesday, December 1st. Happy December. Ravens Steelers has been moved to tomorrow, Wednesday, December 2nd at 3:40 p.m. Eastern Time. I think the game is going to get played tomorrow. And big news. J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram are eligible to play, and they probably will. Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews still can't play. The Giants beat the Bengals 19-17 for their first three-game winning streak since 2016. The Giants take first place in the NFC East, and while people are going to say they're tied with Washington, they're both 4-7. The Giants, they beat Washington both times they played them this year, so they are the number one team in the East. Daniel Jones, he got hurt in the win. So it's likely going to be Colt McCoy going forward. Not for the season, just for the next few games. The Washington football team did beat the Dallas Cowboys this Thanksgiving. 41-16. Antonio Gibson played extremely well. 20 carries, 116 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And he took a lot of targets away from J.D. McKissick. So that's big, especially in helping Gibson gain a bigger role in the offense, which he's definitely the lead back, and he's probably going to start to carve out more of a receiving role too. The Falcons crushed the Raiders 43-6. Bills beat the Chargers 27-17. Titans beat the Colts. And Derrick Henry had 27 carries for 178 yards and 3 touchdowns. So Henry continues to be one of the top rushers in the league. So, and that's very good production from a extremely good back. Patriots upset the Cardinals, and yes, I consider that an upset. 20-17. The Cardinals should have won that game. Kyler Murray, he wasn't rushing the ball that much, so running. So, he does have a slight shoulder injury, so that could be why they don't want him taking shots, especially to the shoulder. But hopefully it's nothing to worry about, and he'll be back to normal. The Browns beat the Jaguars 27-25. Just so you know, the Jaguars only have one win, and they're on track for the second overall pick. The Saints beat the quarterbackless Broncos 31-3. So it was announced right after my fantasy football video on Saturday that the Broncos had no eligible quarterbacks because they were all in close contact with a player who tested positive for COVID-19. So instead, they started a practice squad wide receiver who was 1 for 9 on his throws, and he had 2 interceptions, so he completed more to the Saints than to the Broncos, so pretty funny. But so hopefully everyone for the Broncos will be back. Latavius Murray, he had 19 carries for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's normally the Saints' second running back, and no, Alvin Kamara was not hurt, and he had more carries than Alvin Kamara. So that is not a good sign for Kamara. So while he did have a catch this game though. So Murray has more yards and touches than Kamara. So that's not a good sign for the Saints and Kamara. I mean, well, you still have a good back in Latavius Murray, but Alvin Kamara, that is not a good sign, especially since his production has been slowed by the Taysom Hill becoming quarterback. 49ers beat the Rams 23-20. The Rams should have won that game. Tyreek Hill has a historic game and leads the Chiefs past the Buccaneers. Okay, Patrick Mahomes is 37 for 49, 462 yards, and 3 touchdowns throughout the entire game. Through the entire game, Tyreek Hill has 13 catches, 269 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Most of that came in the first quarter. Tyreek Hill in the first quarter had 7 catches for 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. In one thing real quick about fantasy, he had one of the highest performances ever, definitely in the top 10 in PPR leagues, points per reception. And in PPR leagues, he had over 50 points. So some teams that are really, really bad in fantasy don't even score 50 points, even though most of them do. Most teams are somewhere near 100. One player got 50 points, so that is huge. Alright, so that's it. Oh, and my Steelers-Ravens prediction. I'm gonna take the Steelers to stay undefeated. But the Ravens need to get their stuff back on track in order to make the playoffs. Alright, over to college football. Notre Dame beats North Carolina 31-17. The Notre Dame defense only had 3 points in the second half against North Carolina. So Notre Dame defense is also really good. Iowa State beats Texas 23-20. Oregon State beats Oregon. Actually, Oregon State doesn't just beat Oregon, they upset Oregon 41-38. Alabama rolls past Auburn in the Iron Bowl 42-13. Clemson beats Pittsburgh in Trevor Lawrence's return. And Michigan State upsets Northwestern 29-20. So now we are going to start analyzing the college football rankings from tonight. So Alabama won, so that's fair. They haven't lost, undefeated. Notre Dame number 2, that's also very fair. Notre Dame beat Clemson, who looks extremely good. Notre Dame looks really good. They're also undefeated. Clemson at number 3. I disagree with this. I think you should have Ohio State over Clemson. Ohio State is number 4. But with Ohio State, I can see why the committee did this. Because Ohio State hasn't played many games, 1. And 2, they might not even qualify for the Big Ten championship. You need to have played at least 6 games for the Big Ten championship. If if Ohio State gets a game canceled, either Michigan State or Michigan, I think, is the last week. Michigan, I know they play Michigan State. So if they get one of those 2 games canceled, then they cannot be in the Big Ten championship. And if I were the committee, I would not put Ohio State in the playoff after not even qualifying for the Big Ten championship. Texas A&M number 5, that's fair because their 1 loss is to Alabama. Florida 1 loss to Texas A&M. I think Florida's going to end up making the playoff over Ohio State with a win over Florida in the SEC championship. Over Alabama in the SEC championship. Cincinnati undefeated but not in a Power 5 conference, so 7, that's fair. Georgia at number 8. Iowa State with a big win over Texas that boosts them up to number 9. And Miami is at number 10. So, that's it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, comment your sports questions. So, thank you for watching and goodbye.